Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Season 4 of the Epic Podcast. Edric Poon and Company, the podcast where anybody can inspire everybody. As you can see over here, we're in MojoIdeas, an awesome studio that we've managed to rent out, and these guys are helping me to up the production value for you. Now, as we explore Season 4, we're themed How to Be. We're going to be exploring job roles and positions that you've probably heard about, but you don't really know what they are. For example, how to be a voice coach, or how to be a generational business owner. Now, we're going to be exploring this as we go on down the season. So thank you so much for listening or watching, and continue to support the podcast. And here we are in studio, as you can see, with a wonderful guest, Joel. And he is a voice coach. Now, what's really amazing here is that, again, as you know, in this season of the Epic Podcast, we are exploring how to be. And now, how to be a voice coach. Many a times, people are actually thinking, hey, a voice coach, can you teach me how to sing, man?
I can.
You can, but that's not what a voice coach really is.
It's more than that.
It's definitely more than that. So when we were actually discussing coming on to this podcast, there were a few key objectives that we really wanted to get, which was, number one, we have to debunk what a voice coach really is, explain what a voice coach really does, and again, the importance of what you do. I'm a very big proponent of that, but before we get into that, I'd love it if you could introduce yourself, because I couldn't do it better than you. So please introduce yourself to the audience.
Sure, all right. Hi everyone, my name is Joel. I'm not just your typical voice coach. I'm a voice transformation coach, and I'm an actor, singer, and performer as well. So, like what you said, there are many different types of voice coaches out there. For me, what I specialize in is helping people to discover their blockages when it comes to expressing themselves and allowing them to overcome those obstacles so that they're able to connect with their authentic self. They're able to express themselves freely, confidently, and clearly.
Great. And when we talk about voice coaching again, when you talk to clients, what's the first thing that they actually tell you? Hey, so you teach people how to talk, teach people how to sing. What do you do? Right?
Yeah, that's always like the hardest part to explain. So it really depends because different clients come to me for different purposes. Some of them, they have issues when it comes to speech. Like I have a few clients who have facing issues when it comes to speaking. They were stuttering. They couldn't really think on the spot. So I came in to help them with that. And there were clients who wanted to look and sound more natural in front of cameras, talking to videos, and I come in to help them in terms of their presentation skills. But ultimately, regardless of whatever issues that they might face, what I find is that their awareness of who they are, their acceptance of who they are, their internal world, their psychological world is the most important thing. Because I can teach all the techniques in the world that there is, but if psychologically you are not confident, you are afraid, you are fearful, you are anxious, whatever technique that I will teach you doesn't come across.
It's great that you brought up the psychology bit. Reason being, I was so impressed when we actually sat down for the program with you, and I was like, oh, so this is where it's all coming from. Because for people who don't know, he has you got a bachelor's, right?
I have a degree in psychology.
Yeah, you got a degree in psychology. So I'm just like, oh my God, he could have like head shrinked me or completely just analyzed everything that I was doing. In order for one to be able to break through, we have to become that vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
Don't you think so?
Yeah, we do. Also because our voice is a connection between our internal world and our external world. So however our internal world is, if it's positive, whatever that comes out will be positive as well. And that affects our body. Our body affects our breathing, and our breathing affects our voice. So everything is like a cycle. It's all interconnected. A lot of people, they just focus on understanding the technique, like how to do things. But if the root of the cause is not solved, and, it is hard to fully utilize the technique. So what I do is like going beyond just technique, understanding where the clients are coming from and helping them to be aware of that first. And when they're aware, we can start to make changes.
Right.
Because ultimately we are all product of our life experiences and accumulation of what has happened to us so far. How we carry ourselves, our body habits, our muscular habits, how we breathe, how we talk. It's an accumulation of all those experiences. And it's great, there are times, there are situations where such experiences do help us to communicate. What if we are placed in a different situation, like we have to talk to a group of people, we have to present, we have to do a marketing video, and we don't know how to communicate differently or talk differently or use our voice in a different manner because our body is so used to a particular way of using or behaving. So for me, that awareness is important, being aware of how we have been carrying ourselves, how we have been using our body, our voice, and from there we can tweak and make adjustments to apply whatever technique to help us to best serve the situation that is needed in that particular moment.
Right. It creates that, knowing all of this, right, actually creates that adaptability for somebody to just, again, adjust to any situation. And I felt that, what was key for me in this particular session was how does one actually learn about their voice? When you go for vocal training, they will teach you about the larynx and the whatever, that physiology part. Yep. But does it mean anything to me? I don't know. It was never made clear to me how important a voice was. Imagine this, right? I've asked a couple of people this before. Imagine this, you have 5 senses.
Yeah.
Which is the one that you would be willing to lose?
Ooh.
It's tough.
It's tough.
Yeah. But if, let's say, for example, God forbid, something really were to happen, I know my answer. And I'd rather give up my sense of taste than my sense of hearing and my sense of, or at least the ability to talk.
Wow.
Right? I could not give anything else up.
Really?
I couldn't. I'd rather give up my sense of taste. Okay, backstory is that initially I would think that I would be able to give up my sense of smell until somebody told me that if you lose your sense of smell, you'll probably lose your sense of taste because it goes to your nose first. So I'm like, okay, cool. So taste can go. Taste can go, fine. Fair enough. I'll just smell that fried chicken. That should be good enough, right? I'll imagine the taste again. But back to the point is that I wouldn't be able to do a lot of things because if you look back at us as babies or look at any other baby, why do they throw tantrums at the age of, that terrible 2 thing which we overgeneralize, right? Yeah, it's purely because they want to express themselves, but they cannot. And that's your voice.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I can't play charades all my life, right? And hopefully you're just going to be. So for those who don't have a voice, it's so difficult to communicate. Of course, through sign language, that's possible. But is it fully expressive? Unless you talk about ASL, that's a little different. But my point here is that it's so important for somebody's voice to be able to go through because that is the essence or the foundation of human communication. Yeah. And I see so much value in what you do. I'm just wondering on your end, what have been the common issues or the common misunderstandings of people understanding their voice?
I think the most common thing is that because our voice is something that we don't see.
Yep.
So it's something that they don't really think about a lot until there's a need for it. Like what you said, with babies, babies are naturally loud and expressive because they are connected to their need to express, their need to get something, their need to communicate, and whatever that comes out is sound. And these sounds, as you grow up, they are shaped into words. They are more specific words that we use to communicate what we truly need and feel. And what I realized, like when people think about voice coach, is that like you said, it's just purely speaking or singing, just having good tone, beautiful tone. But it's really more than that because as we go through the world, the reason for us to communicate is not only just to express ourselves, yes, but also to get what we want. We want to be able to influence other people. We want to be able to persuade other people. And the fastest way is probably using our voice. Obviously, there are other ways to do that, but the fastest way is through our voice. And when people realize that they can't, their voice isn't really working for them, like, say, for example, if they are doing a video, and they realize when they play back the video and they realize, how awkward they sound or look on the camera. And then they realize, there is a need for them to improve the way they speak, improve the way they present, improve the way they talk to people. Yep. And it's only under such situations that people see the need. But they don't really realize that actually we use our voice every day. We buy coffee, we buy tea, we go to the market, we get things. Our voice is so important because it is the first thing that people hear us. And the quality of our voice creates an image in their mind. Like, say, if I want to speak like this, it creates a very different image in the audience minds as compared to something like this.
Yeah, the hairs on my body, every hair on my body just stood for a moment there. Just that, it's that nasal voice, Fran Drescher from The Nanny. Anyway, I'm so sorry. I got distracted for a moment.
No worries.
But your point. You see, it has an effect. It has an effect, yeah.
Correct. And that's also because as human beings, we associate sounds with different memories. So for that, when I make that sound, it created a certain memory for you, and it created a certain impact and effect on you. So same thing for our audience, We want to make sure that, depending on your purpose, what's your purpose of speaking, and the type of audience that you're talking to, and how you want to present yourselves to them. Your voice do have to change accordingly. Like, for example, the way I'm talking to you right now is totally different from the way I'm talking to the coffee shop auntie or compared to the Grab driver. It's very different. It's because we are constantly adapting. But what if we are not able to adapt?
Yeah.
Because we are so held up in muscular habits, the way we have been speaking all our lives, the way we have heard other people speak to us, growing up from our parents, our families, our relatives, the way they speak influence the way we speak as well, the way we communicate.
My wife and I actually had this discussion, right? And in fact, a couple of other people that I've had this discussion with as well say the same thing, that I don't know who you are because you have adapted to the people around you. When you're with guys, maybe you speak very differently. When you're with a certain level of age, or a certain age group, you act differently, you express differently, your vocabulary changes, your cadence changes. And to some, that comes across as fake. There you go. So how does one actually explain that it's not fake?
It's not fake. I study psychology. It is. There is a psychological.
Is it because I need to fit in?
Yes.
Oh my God. So that's insecurity on my end, is it?
Not really.
I just want to make people comfortable.
Yep. All right. So great. I'm so glad that you brought that up. So there is a psychological basis to that. It's because we want to fit in. We all have the need to fit in to belong to something, and that might stem from insecurities, or that might stem from your need to make other people feel comfortable. It differs. Yep. Because you want to fit in, we change our voice accordingly to the situation, to the audience, and that's perfectly normal. The most important thing is that whatever that we say or we do, we truly mean what we say and we do.
Absolutely.
And we do. Right. The issues come when whatever that comes out through our mouth isn't truly what we mean inside, and other people can sense that. Because of the way we behave, our behavior, our micro expressions, so on and so forth, there are leakages. So people can sense it. An example is, sometimes when you watch movies, right, or shows on TVs, and you feel like, the actor is not very truthful, not very believable in what he or she is doing. And the audience sense it because it's not only the way they speak, but the way they carry themselves. It's the whole package. Right. So when it comes to communicating, we need to make sure that what we are thinking, what we are feeling, and how our body, we are aligned. Everything's aligned before we speak. So do we really mean what we say? And that is authenticity. In an age where there's video cameras, social marketing, social media videos, being authentic means being true to ourselves. But there are many versions of ourselves that we can put out there.
That kind of goes against the grain by saying that, because authenticity, there should only be one technically.
No.
But we have multiple egos, right? We have multiple images of ourselves that we're able to then project or portray based on that. So this is, to me, is absolutely fascinating. And at the same time, right, what are the things that perhaps somebody can self-assess? How can somebody do this?
Wow, self-assess.
Because not everybody's gonna, let's be honest, right? Not everybody's so comfortable to go, yeah, I need coaching. You know what I'm saying? It's the toughest thing to do. And the strangest thing, especially, maybe as men, for us, one of the more difficult things to do is to ask for help.
Yeah. Right?
And technically, by going to somebody who knows what they're doing is asking for help. And for people who go, I can do it myself. So how would somebody self-assess?
I think the best way to self-assess is to record yourself. Be it through video, audio record. Record yourself and then listen to it or look at it. And then, because when you record yourself, it's something objective. There's nothing that you can hide. And then when you watch a playback or listen to a playback, take a perspective from an audience point of view and just really listen. How did it make you feel as an audience? Is it good? Is it positive? Is it negative? Was it something that you intended to be? And then if there is a mismatch, you know that, okay, that then probably you need some coaching or some help, some guidance.
Another freebie here on the Epic Podcast, as always. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be taking a short break. And when we do come back, we're going to be exploring Joel's history and how we're going to be linking psychology, acting, and your voice all in one for authenticity. We'll be right back. Take us back to when you had this aha moment, like, yeah, people do need this.
Wow. Maybe a bit of my personal story.
Yeah.
Going back to me being a baby.
How far back is that? Like, I can't remember anything past 3, I think.
Yeah, so probably from 3 years old onwards, we actually have memories, yeah. Well, for me, I knew that I wanted to perform, to sing, to dance, to act when I was a kid. And that was something that just came out from...
Who did you see that you went, oh, I saw Michael Jackson. I was like, that's the shit. I need to be like that.
I had no idea.
Really?
I think I was just like running around at home, singing and dancing.
Wow, okay.
And my mom, she was playing music from the radio. And I would just be singing and dancing. And to me, that was like the best thing ever, the freedom to express myself, whatever emotions that was within me, and just letting it out through music, through singing. But as I grew up, things happened along the way. I started to keep to myself. There was once I still remember, like when I was in primary school, I was very talkative. I'll be talking, happily chatting with my friends, telling them, oh, how's my day, blah, 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 so on and so forth. And obviously, it wasn't the right kind of situation to talk during class. I got scolded. But you know what? It sounds very, how should I say? These experiences sounds very simple or very insignificant, but it affected me quite a bit because the moment that the moment that teacher scolded me, I froze. I learned to shut up. I learned to keep everything inside. Right, and it wasn't just one-off thing. It was an accumulation of events. I remember that I was being slapped by my teacher once for talking in class, and then that really hit me a lot because in my mind I was like, okay, so I can't talk in class. I need to hold it all in. And that started, that caused me to just learn that I told myself that it's safer not to express, because every time I talk, every time I express myself, something bad would happen. I mean, looking back at it now, it's kind of silly, but as kids, we make all these conclusions in our mind, and we don't know how much of an impact they have, even till today. Yeah. But luckily I had music, so I was happily singing, and that was a way for me to connect with my emotions. I was in school choir, but even in school choir, I felt like I didn't really fit in because I had issues pitching. I wasn't a great singer at all. and there were a lot of things going on, growing up, puberty, body changes, emotional changes, a lot of things going on in the body, in the mind, and then things start to happen. So like what I said before, we are an accumulation of all our past experiences. Who am I today is because of all those experiences. And then I wanted to study psychology. I wanted to study music, actually. And my parents told me that I need to have a proper degree. So that was why I went to psychology.
Yeah, Asian parents.
Yeah, Asian parents,
yeah. So, musicians don't make money, but psychologists do.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, there we go.
But then I went to psychology also because I was really interested in human nature. I wanted to find out more about myself and how I could unblock those obstacles and challenges that I had within me when it comes to expressing myself. It was fun, psychology, understanding about human behavior, human nature, how the mind works and all that. But what I realized, what was lacking during my time in psychology was that the experiential experience.
If I may jump in, is it because psychology felt like it's such an internal thing that it wasn't expressive at all?
Yeah, it was more theoretical.
Right.
So the application of those theories, was what was lacking. And since I've always been singing, I told myself, all right, why don't I, after getting a degree in psychology, let me jump into performing arts and see what happens.
Wow, that's quite the jump.
Yeah, it was. And it was scary. And that was when all hell broke loose.
Okay, you got me at all hell broke loose. Tell me more, please.
All right. So after I graduated from NTU, I did psychology in NTU, and then I applied to New York. I did like a summer course, musical theater, a summer. See, I'm not even speaking clearly right now because I'm feeling those emotions within me right now. You know, thinking back of all those memories. Sorry,
Anybody got Ambien? Yeah, so you were back in New York and you were auditioning, you were learning something, summer course, right?
So I applied to New York because I wanted to study musical theater. So I applied without telling my parents.
Okay.
So I sent my audition videos over, I sent it over, I got in, and then I told my parents. Obviously, they were shocked.
Yeah, well, I'd be shocked, but happy.
Yeah, and happy. Yeah. But my parents, they were, despite them being shocked, but they were still very supportive.
That's great.
So I was there for a month, and that was a very transformative experience for me because it was the first time where I felt free to be myself, free to express, looking at all the different performances, the shows on Broadway, and going for classes and singing, acting, dancing with teachers from Broadway as well. They were Broadway performers. You know, it was such an amazing experience, and I felt so much lighter over there. And then I came back. I went to LaSalle. I did musical theater, and it was my time in musical theater that really broke me down even more. So, like what I mentioned earlier on, you know, those muscular habits that I have built over the years, you know, in school, from studying, from singing, all that had to be broken down. Because I had a mental image of myself that I was holding so strongly to. And because I was holding so strongly to that, I wasn't able to act properly. I remember that in my first semester in school, my teacher told the class that, you know, you guys, if you want to be a really bad actor, just look at Joel.
Wow. Okay, that's harsh.
That is harsh. But at the same time, looking back now, I could understand why he said that, because I was just being myself. I wasn't able to let go, and it wasn't just a mental thing. It was an emotional and physical thing. I was holding on so much of myself physically as well. You know, those muscular habits that I talked about, and I wasn't able to let go. I wasn't able to step into the world of the character.
Are we talking about like you had a lot of these inhibitions that basically just made you very tight? You weren't able to create that connection to the character.
Yeah, somewhat. And it's not just tension, it's just pure muscular habits. You know, like how we would, you know, we wake up in the morning, we go to the bathroom, we just brush our teeth without even thinking. You know, these things that just are part of us.
Right, like breathing.
Yeah.
Right, you don't think about it, you
Correct.
just do.
Yeah. So back then, I didn't realize how ingrained those things were in me. And then it was through a whole series of training in LaSalle, in drama school, that I learned to just let those go. You know, it's actually part of deconditioning.
Okay.
Yeah, unlearning whatever that I've learned before, letting it all go, so that I'm able to take on something new, take on the techniques that's needed, and just transform into that character for whatever situation. And that was when I realized how powerful the voice and the body is. Because without the body, there is no voice.
Right.
Right. And it was when I started to realize the importance of our body. So even in my work with my clients and students, I always tell them to tune into their body first. Because if they're not aware of their body, they're not aware of how they're breathing, they're not aware of the tensions that they're holding, it's hard to move on from there. We need to learn to be aware, to unlearn, to decondition ourselves before we can learn something new, to recondition ourselves. Yeah. And even till now, for me, you know, moving on after LaSalle, you know, I continue my own body practice. I practice Tai Chi, I do meditation and other body work as well, just to make sure that I'm in tune with my body, so that whatever situations that may arise, that may cause stress, that might cause me to go into a fight-flight, you know, mode, I know how to calm myself down. I know how to connect back to myself. I know how to to connect back to myself so that I can be authentic to people around me, and to respond in a truthful manner, and not just to respond in a manner that I've pre-planned or that, you know, or being reactive to the situation. a lot of us, we go through life reacting to life, right? And that's normal. We can't. It is not easy to be mindful or conscious 100% all the time. But most of us, we stay in that reactive mode. We are not aware. And the challenge is, how can we be more aware and more conscious of our surroundings, and how can we be more conscious of the way we respond to those situations?
Right. And now you're able to connect all these things with the psychology side, with the body.
Yes.
And that in itself helps to condition that. At the same time, right, like if we go into the technical bits a little bit more, if, let's say, for example, on the physiological side of things, it's very difficult to project your voice when you are bent over, for example, because the diaphragm is being... So things like that, people don't realize, like when you slouch, your mood changes. There's a physiological aspect to these things. When you stand up straight, shoulders back, naturally, you become more confident.
Yep.
You feel more confident. But these are things that I think people tend to feel as though, like, are you sure? This sounds like very woo stuff. It doesn't work, or they expect like this massive big difference. But the truth is, it's in increments. So I honestly believe that when we can do all these little things, it improves bit by bit, and it's not going to be a stark difference. One of the things that helped me personally, just to share, was learning diaphragmatic breathing, because that allowed me to control my modulations, my projections a lot better.
Yeah.
And it also taught me about timing. Loving music as well growing up helped a lot when it came to understanding the rhythm of a conversation, how we can do things better, naturally being able to speak in threes. That rule of threes, right? Have you heard that one before?
Like 3 points in a row?
Yeah. Everything is three, right? All these life hacks stuff, right? Sorry, I'm rolling my eyes right now because I still don't like it when we have 5 ways you can change your life, 3 ways you can do that, because again, there are no shortcuts to life.
No.
Right? And I mean, your story has told that so well, because you had to go through a lot of these things, a lot of hardships, a lot of pain, to be able to then come to realize and come to fruition all these things that you are able to do now, right? Without that history, or without that, trauma, if I could say, you wouldn't have been able to reach to the point you are today. Now, if you could give something away to somebody right now in terms of how they could really just take that step to improve themselves in terms of just being able to communicate better with a loved one, what would it be?
I think the first thing would be to pause, breathe before responding.
I love how you use the word respond over reacting. Yeah, because that's something that many of us tend to do. When a question comes and bam, I just need to make that reaction and quickly say something about it, right? But we don't choose to sit back and think about what the intention is. How are we feeling the other person? I really wish that we could do something like, how can I feel another person's energy?
Wow.
Very highly empathetic people can do that. They're empaths, right? They're able to do so. I think being an actor yourself, I believe that you have that. There's a beautiful book, which is, it sounds crazy, it's a survival guide
for empaths.
For empaths, yes, that one, right? And first thing that they tell you is that empaths in general are people who have gone through a lot of trauma. So that's why they develop and hone that sense of empathy.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
At the same time, to be able to communicate well with people is to be empathetic. And to be empathetic also means to be able to experience and mirror what somebody else has or gone through. And likewise, if we talk about the voice, if somebody really does sound broken, you're not going to go there and talk to them all cheery either.
No, you have to match where they're at.
Correct. So again, I think that's a great point that you've brought up, to listen, take a breath, pause, respond. Right?
Yeah.
And if I could add on to that, is to mirror what's happening. But that doesn't mean that if your other significant other is throwing a fit, and you're going to throw a fit too. It's the polar opposite. Sit down, and it's about concern, isn't it? Yeah.
It is. And I mean, it really depends on the situation. Say if the situation is really emotional, it's always good to take a step back. Let the emotions settle down first before communicating. The reason for that is because when we get emotional, our mind gets overridden with all these emotions. So we are not thinking logically, we're not thinking rationally. So we need to allow those emotions to settle down a little bit first before engaging once again. You know, if everyone takes a step to just pause, to breathe before they respond, the whole society would change.
Absolutely. We'd have less people driving into swimming pools. So, sorry. It's completely unrelated, but you get my point. But I mean, I sense a lot of joy and happiness, you know, from you when you talk about all of this, you know, to be able to connect people, to be able to teach them a little bit more about the voice and share what you've learned and make sure that they don't go through that pain. Do you feel that you found your purpose?
Yeah, I do. And I'm still also constantly refining it as well. You know, I think there's no final destination or no like definite purpose in life, but there's like a general direction to keep going, to keep doing. You know, and the more we do, the deeper we go, you know, new things will come up for us. And for me, I am always open to whatever that purpose is or might be. But I know that for me, voice.
Right.
The voice is it.
Okay. And if now, okay, you've seen your past, you see your present. What do you see as the next evolution of yourself? You're acting, you're singing, you are coaching, you're transforming lives. What's next for you?
I think for me would be to continue to transform lives in all that I do, but not just in the pure physical or emotional or mental level, but on a more spiritual level as well. Yeah. I think with COVID, a lot of us has taken the time to reflect about our own lives, and we realize that there's more to life, you know, than just working or getting married, you know, or raising children. There's more to life than that. You know, finding that deeper meaning, connecting to the universe, connecting to God, you know, whatever spirituality means to each of us. And for me, we'll be helping people to connect to their own spiritual self through their voice.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short break to connect a little bit more. So in the meantime, while we're taking this little break, go connect with someone that you love, and we'll be right back after these messages. It makes so much more sense now that you've been able to express this on how everything comes full circle. And everything that you've done somehow or other has led you down this path of becoming a voice coach, because we just love to communicate in your art, in your craft, in your daily work. You just love to communicate. And it really resonates with me. And I can thank you so much for sharing and honestly bearing your heart and your soul here. You know, of course, clothes are still on, so that's perfectly fine. But one thing that we always do at the podcast, at the end of it, is that we always run through a quick fire round of 10 questions, so that everybody gets to know you real quick as well.
Sure.
Okay. So with that, are you ready?
Not really. That's unexpected, but let's go.
All right. So so were many of my relationships. Okay. So moving along. All right. So here we are with Joel and the Epic Questionnaire. Question number 1. One word that you love the most.
Happy.
Happy. One word that you dislike.
Blank.
If you could have a conversation with anybody, dead or alive, fictional, non-fictional, who would that be?
Ooh. Jesus.
What do you say to yourself in the mirror every morning?
Hey, gorgeous.
You need a hair flip with that as well. This is lovely. Name one superpower that you'd like to have.
Wow. I would really love to read people's minds.
Favorite dish to eat?
Chicken rice.
Favorite travel spot or the next one that you want to go to?
Ooh. Oh, Peru.
Something in the arts that you've always wanted to do but yet to do so.
To have my own concert.
What does retirement look like to you?
Wow. The first image that comes to my mind is that I am relaxing on an island in Bali, but I'm still doing work as well.
Right.
Transforming people through their voice, through music, through singing, through communication.
Okay, as long as it's not that one random person just dancing on the beach, right?
No.
Okay, that's fine. And how do you want to be remembered? What's your legacy?
Wow, he has changed my life.
Okay. Thank you so much. That's 10 questions for you. And Joel, how can everybody and anybody actually reach you so that they can find more, connect with you, or in fact, learn from you?
Sure, yeah. So if any one of you out there who are facing issues when it comes to communicating or facing issues with your voice, feel free to reach out to me. You can contact me on Instagram at Iam.JoelLow, L-O-W, or you can reach out to me on Facebook and LinkedIn at the same handle as well.
Okay, and ladies and gentlemen, that was Joel. Again, please connect with him if you're looking for, again, tips on communication. Follow him on IG. Just love his work, really. He's a wonderful soul. Let's support each other and let's get this thing going. All right, and thank you so much, Joel, for being on the podcast.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And that has been this episode of the Epic Podcast. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.